Welcome to our Eid Chapel hosted by the South Asian Affinity Group, and we are so excited to have you all here. Thank you for dressing so nicely. You look great. Give yourselves a hand. I also want to thank the South Asian Affinity Group for the henna this afternoon and all the beautiful designs I've seen on people's hands and legs and bodies. It's beautiful. And I also want to commend those who fasted during the month of Ramadan, and I hope that it was a spiritually significant time for you. Sonal will welcome you to our service tonight.
Hey everyone, welcome to our 2021 Eid Chapel service. The South Asian Affinity Group and our Muslim students put together this service to celebrate and share our cultures and traditions with all of you. Today's program not only highlights Eid, but also our stories as South Asians. As we gather to celebrate, I'd like to first hold space for all those who are suffering from the pandemic. We think of the East and Southeast Asian counterparts of ours who are facing Asian hate, racism, and xenophobia. As we are in the middle of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, I want to use this opportunity to recognize the struggles, to honor our Asian and Asian American communities, and to express our appreciation and support towards the collective efforts to fight the virus of racism. We see you, we honor you, and we love you. At this time, we also ask everyone to think of the COVID outbreak in India, where the virus has ravaged communities, leaving millions without oxygen cylinders, medical care, food, and other supplies. All proceeds from today's henna station will go to the Give India Foundation to provide oxygen cylinders in India. We managed to raise roughly $268 today from the henna station, but Mr. and Mrs. Roach generously matched the donation amount alongside an additional gift, so they donated an extra $700 to the Give India Foundation, making our sum total at over $900. This amount is enough to provide oxygen cylinders capable of saving many lives. So thank you all so much for that generosity and that commitment to humanity that we all have. At this time, I'd also like to recognize the incident in Palestine with the attack in the mosque. This is an incredibly religious and holy time for our Muslim students and for the Muslim people in the world, and for an attack to happen in a mosque in Palestine at this time. It's really painful, so I ask that you keep all the families in Palestine in your prayers tonight as well. Now, as we St. Andreans gather on this campus safely, let's recognize and honor the privileges we have. From getting the vaccine, to having medical care, to getting frequent rapid tests, which most of you got today, we've had the privilege to spend our spring on this campus and celebrate safely. But yes, this year, all of our holidays have looked different. Eid, Holi, Diwali, and Ramadan, the times that have always meant the most to us, were different. Many celebrations across the world were halted, but as we've come together to celebrate today, I begin to have hope. We believe that day will come again when we can safely celebrate with our families across the world. We believe that day will come again when we can see each other, hug each other, and celebrate together. We pray that the day comes soon, and God supports all of us who are suffering. Thank you, and Eid Mubarak.
What is Ramadan, some of you might ask? Ramadan is the holiest month on the Islamic lunar calendar. The origin of Ramadan was when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was given the first few chapters of the Quran. Ramadan was created to help Muslims understand how fortunate we are to have water, food on the table, and many more blessings that the unfortunate don't have. It also helps Muslims reconnect with their faith in Islam. Due to fasting, you're cleansing your mind, body, and soul in order to become closer spiritually to God. When doing this at St. Andrews, I thought I wouldn't have any help or support. Rather, it was the complete opposite, as every night there would be faculty members bringing us food before sunset. The first few days were challenging as I was tired of going to class and couldn't focus on my academics at first. Then one day, everything just clicked. I was going to class feeling energized and practicing without having to worry about drinking water. Compared to fasting at home on a schedule of going to sleep really late and trying to sleep throughout most of the day, it was hard to adapt at first. But because of how caring and understanding this community is, a lot of stress was lifted from my shoulders. At first, my parents were worried and wanted me to come home, as this was the first time I had finished Ramadan without their support. But they understood I was taken care of properly, and the school had an understanding of respecting my culture and religion. During this month of fasting, I've come to a realization that at St. Andrews, everyone here is to support each other. I just wanted to express my gratitude towards all the faculty and staff who were able to support Marvi, Asir, and I during our month of fasting. Eid Mubarak.
Fill the heart with the oil of love. Place in it the wick of single-pointed mind. Light it with the knowledge of truth, and remove the darkness of ignorance around you. Just as one lamp can light many lamps, let each youth kindle this light in many hearts.
Have faith. My transition to St. Andrews freshman year was particularly difficult, as I considered myself a homebody and never imagined attending a boarding school. Move-in day was filled with endless tears. In fact, if you ask many of my classmates, they would probably still remember the sobbing girl that would not let go of her mother. For the first few weeks, I would call my parents multiple times a day and ask if they could visit every weekend. I felt such a longing to not miss anything that my family was doing at home, and in doing so, I started to miss out on the experiences at St. Andrews. I called my parents whenever I was struggling with something, instead of leaning on the individuals surrounding me. When I first shared these concerns, my mother encouraged me to trust that I was at St. Andrews for a reason, and to have faith that God has a plan for me. Coming from a family with a strong sense of faith, my grandparents and parents introduced me to the principles of religion at an early age. They've always stressed the importance of religion to provide direction, insight, and guidance in our lives. They've also instilled in me that my faith is something that I need to discover for myself in order to decide the role that it should play in my life. I started to turn to the principles of religion to provide me with guidance and support through my transition to boarding school, and I started looking for my path. However, to be honest, I did not necessarily consider myself as a strict Muslim. Still, my first month of Ramadan at St. Andrews was tough for me. When my family chose to fast while they were in Iran, they have not made the same decision in the United States. Seeing my Muslim peers fast for this month made me feel a sense of guilt. I considered myself a person of faith, and so by not partaking in this practice, I felt as if I was not honoring my commitment to my religion. However, through reflection and prayer, I have developed my own understanding of what my faith and religion mean to me. For example, my faith has allowed me to feel more comfortable and at ease in difficult situations. Throughout my life, and during this past year specifically, I have come to understand that I cannot be in control of everything. And in fact, I can only really be in control of myself, my actions, and my attitude. While it seems fairly simple to acknowledge the idea that one cannot control everything, I really struggled to accept the uncertainty and helplessness that I felt, knowing that no matter how hard I worked, I could not control my destiny. Relinquishing this level of power felt very difficult at first, as it came with the feelings of uncertainty and helplessness when it came to my future. My faith has helped me realize this tension, knowing a higher power, my faith has helped me release this tension, knowing a higher power is truly in control of my destiny. I have to trust that everything happens for a reason, and if an opportunity is meant to be, then it will happen for me. On a side note, religion has helped me connect with my relatives, and specifically my grandparents. Although I do not speak Farsi fluently, I can discuss my faith quite naturally with these individuals, who serve as such incredible role models for me. Many of you may have noticed that I always wear this blue necklace around my neck, and I do so because my grandmother prayed on the stone before I came to St. Andrews. Wearing it around makes me feel both protected and close to her. Finally, my faith has guided me through many difficult times, and it has allowed me to feel secure in my daily life. I now know why I'm here at St. Andrews and how my faith has allowed me to believe in myself and trust the people around me. I've come to realize that my identity includes my Muslim heritage. However, religion can mean different things for different people, and everyone can find this security in different ways, such as meditation, singing, or running. So, I just want to encourage everyone to find that activity or practice that allows you to feel at ease with your body and mind. Thank you.
This prayer is titled, Restore My Strength. Holy Spirit, drive away from me all forms of sickness and disease. Restore strength to my body and joy to my spirit, so that in my renewed health, I may bless and serve you now and forevermore.
There is a commonly used term in South Asian culture called ABCD. Those letters stand for American-born confused Desi. And to give some context, the word Desi is used to describe someone or something with ethnic roots in South Asia. So the term ABCD primarily applies to first and second generation Asian Americans, someone like me. Some South Asians consider ABCD to be an ethnic slur, and others wear the term with pride. But personally, I've always been most intrigued by one word in that acronym, confused. We are perceived as confused because we grapple with balancing multiple identities and cultures. And I own it. I accept it. I'm confused. I was born and raised in Massachusetts. I'm a diehard Patriots fan. I love New England winters and fireworks on the 4th of July. But from the age of 2, I've also spent nearly every summer in India or Pakistan. I could spend hours watching Bollywood films and listening to Desi music. And nothing makes me feel more at home than spicy Indian food. I am Muslim, yet I've spent more time in Hindu temples than I have in mosques. So when I first heard W.E. Du Bois' theory of double consciousness, which he wrote in the context of African American struggles, it struck me how well he articulated a struggle that I have felt but never been able to put a name to. He says, "It is a peculiar sensation, this double consciousness. This sense of always looking at oneself through the eyes of others. One feels his two-ness, an American and African, two souls, two thoughts,
two unreconciled strivings, two warring ideals in one dark body whose dogged strength alone keeps it from being torn asunder. Like many first-generation Americans, I struggle with the complexity of duality. I strive to embrace seemingly conflicting aspects of my identity, but as Du Bois says, these aspects can be warring ideals, which at times have made me feel that one identity must win and the other must lose. While opposing cultures and religions can serve to enrich each other, they can also do the opposite. Numerous aspects of my culture and my religion have often found themselves at direct odds with each other. But we are quick to pass judgment on ourselves and on others about how they choose to deal with their cultural confusion. The reality of mixed identities is rarely what we expect it to be. I have realized that there is no right way of managing this balance or coming to an understanding of my multiple cultures. After spending years thinking about how best to define or categorize my identity, I've come to the conclusion that we as individuals are impermanent. Our identities are impermanent. We try to grasp at a black and white definition of who we are, but we fall short simply because such a definition doesn't exist. And such a definition doesn't exist because there isn't a singular version of ourselves. We are constantly evolving and growing, and that means that our understanding of ourselves is constantly changing as well. And in trying to define our identity, we are operating under the assumption that it can be defined, or that there's one right way to balance your identity. Just as I am a sister, a daughter, a student, and an athlete, I am also an American, an Indian, a Pakistani, a Muslim, and a Hindu. The older you get and the more experiences you have, the more identities you develop. And as my list of identities have grown, I've had to reconcile with each one. But rather than have these warring identities fight for dominance, I try to let them coexist. The image of a Muslim girl kneeling before Hindu gods would raise eyebrows and controversy in many parts of the world. But for me, this dichotomy is my everyday life. Due to my blended upbringing, I celebrate and respect both polytheism and monotheism. Embodying a fusion of two cultures and two diametrically opposing religions, I learned to embrace diversity and contradictions and remain open-minded. And at times, it seems completely chaotic and contradictory to the rest of the world. South Asia has had more than its fair share of religious discrimination and violence over the divide between Muslims and Hindus. But I represent both. How is it that people are willing to take lives over the very contradictions that I've learned to live with every single day? These are contradictions so powerful that they've led to centuries of war and hatred. But it's taught me that when people have no choice but to reconcile impossible differences, they can do it. My story, my identity, is living proof of this. We constantly try to differentiate and separate ourselves into groups, us versus them. It's an unfortunate part of the human condition. But I don't get to pick one faith, one culture, or one home. I can't separate myself into rigid groups or pick one identity and villainize the others, because they all make me who I am. And if I can make peace with my conflicts, then coexistence and harmony in a wider context is also possible. So yes, I am an ABCD, an American-born confused BASI. But I wouldn't change it for the world, because that confusion, that chaos is beautiful. And before I end, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Over the past 4 years, I have learned and grown a lot as an individual, but in particular, in terms of my identity. It has been through teaching and sharing my cultural heritage on days like today that I've come to gain a better, firmer understanding of my own identity. So I truly want to say thank you for all of your consistent willingness and excitement to learn. It's just one of many things that have made this school and this community feel like home. Thank you.
Funnily enough, I'm half white, half Indian, and a member of the South Asian Affinity Group, but I've never celebrated an Indian holiday. I can't speak Punjabi or write Sanskrit. I don't own any Indian clothing. The few times I've gone to Gurdwara, the Sikh temple, with my grandparents, I've sat there clueless as to what's going on. Sometimes I don't even know if I pronounce my own name correctly. In the past, I let these circumstances discredit my Indianness. I would push away this side of my identity because I could, and it was what felt comfortable. No one could know that I was Indian based on my looks, and no one would know if I didn't tell them. Additionally, the environment of my predominantly white middle school made me even more inclined to suppress my Indian identity in an effort to fit in. It wasn't until I came to St. Andrews and joined the South Asian Affinity Group that I realized that there is no criteria for embracing your identity. While to many, affinity groups are a way to simulate their home culture, to teach the school community about their heritage, and to stay connected to their roots, it's the opposite for me. Being a part of the South Asian Affinity Group has been a learning experience. I've learned more about Indian traditions, the vastness of South Asian and Indian culture, and I've connected with peers and learned about their traditions too. Our group meetings and discussions make me more curious about this culture that is so different from the one I am accustomed to. Joining the South Asian Affinity Group has helped me reckon with my multiracial identity, something that I used to struggle with understanding. I now more fully recognize and appreciate the parts of my Indian identity that I do embody. Being named after the town in which my grandmother was born, my deep appreciation for Indian food, listening to my grandpa's stories about the India partition, or my grandmother's journey of moving away from home with a man she barely knew after an arranged marriage, attending weddings in India, and so much more. I'm so fortunate to have this other culture to explore and to embrace, and I'm grateful to the South Asian Affinity Group for helping me get there. Thank you.
To heal a friend. Think, O God, of our friend who is ill, whom we have commended to your compassionate regard. Comfort them upon their sick bed, and ease their suffering. We beg for deliverance, and submit that no healing is too hard, if it be your will. We therefore pray that you bless our friend with your loving care, renew their strength, and heal what ails them in your loving name.
Thank you all for coming tonight. We hope you enjoyed the service a lot and that you will reflect deeply upon the stories that were told tonight. Thank you to everyone who donated to the charity, and have a great night. The worship has ended.
Let the service begin.
Thank you all.